Okay, so I had kind of a similar but different scenario. The customer we're working with was, and what they wanted to do was to be able to send out an email to their customers that displays the an order and all their order lines in a very specific formatted way. So they sent us lots of styling and had to have images in it. And so what I ended up doing is coming up with a process to create this dynamically populated HTML template. So there was two scenarios, one to send an email to people, and then the second one was to take this template, modify it a little bit, and then send it to a third-party company called Lob, which will print out these PDF documents and ship them to the customer. So first, what I was doing to get the HTML template, I kind of cheated and went to the Dynamics marketing application, and I don't have that pulled up right now. And I created the template with all of like the colors and the images in Dynamics marketing, and then copied the HTML over. And then here in my flow, I start making some modifications to that HTML template. So this flow runs every day. It grabs all of the orders that fit our filter criteria, which is any orders that are expiring in 70 days. And then down here, what I start doing is I need to make these tables that are going to be put into my HTML template. So here I create my first table, and I populate it with, the quantity, state, product, discounted price, and subtotal. And that's using the create HTML table connector inside of Flow. And then I do a compose where I actually concatenate the styling to the output of my previous steps. So what I should get is one block of HTML that has the styling and then the HTML for the table. Then here I list all of those order products. And there are certain order products that are marked as recommended. I'm not going to go into that, but there's two different scenarios. But then I use the Outlook, send an Outlook email connector, and I just drop in my HTML. This is the HTML that I got from the marketing application. And then you'll see as I scroll down here, I have dynamic content in here too. So I've got their account number populated. I've got a format date time to show that expiration date. And if I scroll down even further, I've got my table output right here. And then I had to use some if statements here because they want this email to come with the contact information for the account manager. And if there's no account manager, they want it to go to some fixed poster compliance support. So the outlook or the output is this email right here. So as you can see, I've got their poster compliance logo. If I hover over the login, it takes me to where I log in on their page. This takes me to their contact us. And I have all of my dynamically populated content. Here's my table with its styling. Here's my button to renew now, which will take me to the portal. And then I have this is the default stuff, the JourneyTEAM admin, client account representative, and all that jazz. So that was scenario one. The next scenario is a little bit more complex because we're having to take HTML and send it over to a third party. So what I did for this scenario is I have three parent flows that call this child flow. And I have three separate parents because there's different information that needs to be gathered and there's different criteria, but they all kind of go through the same logic once we gather that information. So I'm pushing through to this child flow all of these fields from the parent flows. Now, something to note, when you're doing manually trigger a flow, it only accepts 20 fields, and I hit that, so then I had to add an extra step to grab 3 more fields that I needed. And in this scenario, the customer wanted me to create a dynamic table that's calculating the total cost of their order, the tax, the discount, and their expiration date. But they wanted me to do this for 3 different scenarios. They said, we want to see that for when it's 15% off, when it's 10% off, and when it's full priced. So when the flow runs, it's only going to show me one of those scenarios. So I had to calculate the rest for the other 3. So inside of this, I have an extremely like long and clunky, not super nice looking create array function that basically creates the array, calculates all of my information, and stores it. And I have to do this for each different scenario. So this one does it for the 3 rows that has the 15% discount, the 10% and full price. This one does it for the 10% discount and full price. And this one is just an object that contains that because there will only be one more line in that table. And you'll see what this output looks like once I show you the end product. But then I have to go in and I actually, in my trigger, I passed in my order products array as a string. So down here, I concatenated that string, or sorry, I converted that string to JSON, and then I parsed it, and then I went through and iterated and created that table. So this is going to have all of their order products. So I select those, then I create an HTML table with that output, and I add styling to that table. Kind of similar to what we looked at last time. Then I come in, and since I now have this new table that I'm introducing, that third table at the bottom, which you'll see here that wasn't on the email one, I have to go in, and I have to create that table as well, add the styling, and then I update my HTML that is then going to be sent over to our third party. So this is the output. This is what it looks like in the end. Here is all of my HTML put together with the dynamically populated content, and then this down here is that table that I was doing my arrays and writing my functions for. This table is only the one line, so we only have one line here. But if it had the 3 lines, you'd see the 3 separate ones, and you'd see the different data here. We ended up kind of switching the final product we gave to the customer, so it's a little bit different than what I showed you, just because we ran into some limitations with Lob's API and how many characters they would accept on the HTML template. But luckily, we could store that HTML that we already created inside of Lob and then just pass through the dynamic content in our API call. But this was a very nice way to approach this, and actually one of the suggestions we're using as a little caveat, when you're using this Outlook connector and you plan to send a lot of emails like this customer will, you don't want to hit the limitations of the Outlook connector, and you don't also want to spam someone and get that email address blacklisted. So the thought that we have is to take this HTML body that we're putting into here and just add it to a dynamic email record inside of Dynamics, which will then send that email via the Dynamics SMTP server. So either way that you do it, it just depends, right? We were using Outlook at first to test it, but now that we know that they're going to be sending out a lot more emails, we're probably going to switch this and create records inside of Dynamics. But that's the way that we approached it. Had I known about the ability to build some of this stuff inside of a body or inside of a field in Dynamics that is like a rich text editor and have that come over as HTML, that could have saved me a lot of time. So I was glad to learn that, but I learned it after the fact. But either way, we got it to work, and they're pretty happy with it. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but more so a comment. But I think that's so slick, and I would love that. That's something that we could almost do for all of our customers that are kind of handling orders, opportunities where we need to send them something where it's like, hey, here's an HTML version of your order, right? Because this is how the modern day works. You know, you order something and you're getting an HTML version of your order in an email. So could be kind of one of those things that could be a little JourneyTEAM package solution that we include with our customers that gives us the competitive advantage over our peers.
Yeah. And you're probably asking, well, why didn't they just use the marketing application to do this? They didn't want to pay for the licensing, so instead they paid for about 100 hours of our time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to it. There's a little bit more versatility with this than you get in marketing, just because you can tie it into Power Automate and do a lot more things here with it. So if we in some of these flows, I'm also going through and, updating the order line discounts, because at 30 days, we changed the discount from 15 to 10%, and that's all in the same flow. So we update the discount, and then in the next step, we send the email. So there's more versatility here, but there also is a lot of duplicate features inside of the marketing application.
And I know, Kevin, I think that sometimes the marketing, what they'll do is discourage kind of transactional, like leveraging marketing in a transactional sense like this. Is that true, or am I misremembering?
It's just a little tougher to segment people on transactional basis than it is kind of like a demographical basis or whatever. So you got to get a little creative and
Okay. Cool. Good to know.
Just another piece on that. What they do have, like when you create a marketing email, you can decide whether it's commercial or transactional. And then if it's like transactional, then you don't have to have that subscription center link in there. But that's kind of the main difference I've seen.
Okay. Good to know.
Cool.